Morning there. Let everybody join. All have joined. फिर से मेरे पास रिप्लाई नहीं आ रहा है. Ask all other friends to join it fast. We have to make it hurry. In the previous lecture, actually, Happy Ma'am has altered her lecture to me. I did not have the idea that that was an elective subject. But don't worry, I did not cover many things. I have just covered a theoretical topic, which was the types of grammar. So if you people will see the recording of that lecture, easily everything you will get it. Nothing much I have covered. Okay. And in case if anybody finds out any problem in that recording, then in the next lecture, whatever is next lecture, tomorrow or day after tomorrow, whenever, first 15 minutes or first 10 minutes or first n number of minutes, I will be giving you people, you can ask me doubts with respect to that topic, but please make sure that nobody is saying like this, that sir ye samajh nahi aaya, not like this. बिना पढ़े कोई ना बोले कि ये समझ नहीं आया. Okay, everybody should go through with the recording, ma- and note down the point. Either note down the point or in fact note down the duration also. Sir, the video on this minute, this second, you were saying this thing and that was not being clear to us. Okay, or clear to me, like that. Is it fine to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We have got just 2 3 voices. You can type in the chat box as well. Is it fine to everyone?
सर एक क्वेश्चन था, अपने मिड सेम के मार्क्स कब तक आएंगे?
जल्दी आ जाएंगे, मैंने तो दे दिए सबको.
ओके सर.
फेल हैं बहुत सारे बच्चे. 80% से ज्यादा स्टूडेंट्स, क्या अब ये सारा तो मैं बता ही चुका हूँ पहले ही पिछली क्लास में. 80% से ज्यादा स्टूडेंट्स फेल हैं मिड सेम में. बच्चे, आपकी क्लास का स्टेटस नहीं पता मेरे को, जो ओवरऑल स्टेटस था वो ये था.
तो हमारे
कितने,
क्लास में दिए कुछ शायद 14-15 लोगों ने थे, ज़्यादा नहीं
हाँ
थे.
वो बताया था मुझे. लास्ट टू लास्ट क्लास वो डिस्कशन हुआ था पूरा. और जो मैंने डिस्कस किया था उसके बारे में कुछ सोचो एंड स्टार्ट कमिंग टू द कॉलेज. अड़ने से कुछ नहीं होता, समाधान निकालने से ही जीवन आगे बढ़ता है. चलिए, लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द क्लास. दिस इज वेरी वेरी बैड थिंग. ओनली 20 स्टूडेंट्स हैव जॉइंड. 10:40 का लेक्चर में 10:51 तो हो चुका है, और कितना वेट करेंगे. चलो अब से वेट नहीं करेंगे. लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द क्लास. जिसको ज्वाइन करना है वो ज्वाइन कर लेगा. ठीक है. सो वट एवर वी हैव कवर्ड इन द मॉर्निंग लेक्चर, don't worry for that. Easy things are there. Okay, you will get everything out of that. And the topic which the next topic which I'm going to cover, that is not related to the topic which I have covered in the previous lecture, so you don't have to worry about this thing. All right, there is just one more additional line which I am supposed to say. Just 5 minutes long concept which I am supposed to say, that why these, like the reason behind the Chomsky hierarchy. Just that I was willing to say, but I'm not discussing it now because everybody has not gone through with the lecture. So take a day time. It's just a 5 minute thing which I want to explain you for Chomsky hierarchy. So take a day time, study that lecture, study that recording, get everything out of it. In next lecture, those first 5 minutes we'll spend on that content which I want to say you with respect to Chomsky hierarchy. I just want to express that why these languages are subset of each other. All right, this why we will answer in the next lecture in first 5 10 minutes. First you go through with the recording. Okay, now let's start with today's class. Before starting today's class, I would like to tell you something. Today's class is very very interesting. In fact, next 3 to 4 classes will be very very interesting to with respect to many things. First of all, obviously the topics which we are going to discuss in next 3 to 4 classes, They are also mandatory coming topics. Like I told you about the Mahel-Norod theorem, that usually it always comes like that. Next, more interesting thing. Mahel-Norod theorem doesn't come in GATE, but the topic which I'm going to discuss in next 3-4 classes, this is frequently asked, not only frequently asked, most frequently asked questions in GATE. And many questions you will find in GATE with respect to this. Automata mein, total automata comes around 10 to 15, somewhere between 10 to 15 marks in GATE exam, and out of those 10 to 15 marks, almost 60% of the questions usually come from this topic which we are going to discuss now. Okay, so and this topic is interesting also. Once you learn the basic things, then it is very interesting. Okay, so everybody's good to go with the topic. Shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. So let me borrow some slides from some theoretical slides from another PPT which I have created. This is what we are going to start. If you remember, in the beginning days of that grammar, when I was discussing that Chomsky hierarchy, I told you that there are two different Chomsky hierarchy. One is for the grammar and one is for the language. And I told you at that time that if in exam the Chomsky hierarchy for language is being asked, then don't write it for grammar. That will go wrong. Okay. So basically today we are going to start with that thing. How many types of languages we have? Okay. So all this thing you have to write on your notes. Let's not to waste time of class in writing notes. Okay. Just understand everything. Further, I will share these slides with you, and obviously lecture recordings will be available, so from that you can make your notes. Okay, Rishabh, there is little disturbance at your side. Put it on mute. So these are the different types of languages. One is regular language, one is practically CFL, but CFL itself has two parts. One is DCFL, which is deterministic context free language, and one is CFL, which is context free language. Sometimes it is also called as NCFL as well. Okay, which is non deterministic context free language. One is called CSL. Okay, one is called CSL, one is called recursive language, and one is called recursively enumerable language. Okay, each and every language has certain number of properties. Based on that property, you can identify that which type of language it is. Okay, so here I have written those properties. Okay, but this thing you have to note down, or if you want to note it down you can note it down, or if you just want to read it and learn it, you can do that. You can note it down further. Okay, but let me explain. Until I'm explaining, don't write anything. Just keep your focus, entire focus on understanding the things. Once I will finish the explanation, then either I can give you some time, or I will just open these slides and whatever else you can do, right? Just take these notes. So until I'm explaining, Don't divert your focus. Stay focused on the content. I'm starting now. Regular language. How to find out that whether a particular language is regular or not? So the first thing is, if your language is finite, then it really doesn't matter that how much complex it is. Does it have comparisons? Does it whether it has comparisons or whether it does not have comparisons or whatever else. Okay, if a language is finite, right away it becomes regular without any other contradiction or without any other argument. Got the point? If a language is finite, very very important point, if a language is finite, it is regular. That's it. If it is infinite, it doesn't mean that it is not regular. It may be regular, may not be regular. Okay, now how to find out whether it will be regular or not? If a language is infinite and there is no comparison in that language, in that case you will say that language is regular. There should not be any comparison. None of the external comparison, none of the internal comparison should be there. I know there are few things with which obviously you are not clear, like you don't know what is comparison, you don't know what is external comparison, you don't know what is internal comparison. Below to this I have written linear comparison also. You also don't know what is linear comparison, but don't worry, in today's class we will cover all these things, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, the
Your
all
screen is
all
not visible.
Array, shit. Is it visible now?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Fine. So whatever I said I have written here, you can read it now. So if a language is finite, then it is regular without any argument. If it is non-finite, infinite, then it may be regular if it does not have any comparison. Maybe matlab, it's like it is regular if it does not have any comparison. What I was saying is that I know that you are not aware with the concept of comparison, external internal comparison you don't know, linear non-linear comparison you don't know, but you don't have to worry about it. Before starting the questions, first I will explain all these things to you. I will make you to understand that what these things are, then only we will move on to the questions, not before that. Okay, fine. Next, DCFL. So a language can be deterministic context free language if and only if, first of all, it has to be infinite. You know this, because if a language is finite, then it will be then it will become regular. So if a language has to be DCFL, then first of all it has to be infinite. Then it should have at most, remember it is not at least, sometimes people get confused in at least and at most. It should have at most one linear comparison over a single variable. Don't worry, I know that you don't know what is the single variable, you also don't know what is the linear comparison. Don't worry about it. Okay, just read this, nothing else, and I will explain it further. Okay, next, CFL. Again, the same thing. At most one linear comparison over a single variable, plus if no separator is available. Here, separator is available. Here, separator is not available. Okay. Next, how to identify whether a language is CSL? First of all, it has to be infinite, because if it is finite, it will become regular. It has to be infinite. After being infinite, two things you have to check. If there are more than one linear comparisons over a single variable, then it will become CSL. if it is more than one, linear comparisons. That is one way. Plus, apart from this, if there is any non-linear comparison, only one comparison is there, but if there is non-linear comparison, that comparison is non-linear, then it will become CSL. Okay, recursive, for being recursive, remember, for which Turing machine terminates definitely, and recursively enumerable, for which Turing machine may not terminate. Plus there is one more thing, that it cannot be written, can't be written in a numerical formula. This is true for everything, for this also, can't be written in a numerical formula. Okay, fine. Now it's time to learn all these things, extra terms what I have written over there. That what is this comparison, what is internal comparison, what is external comparison, what is linear comparison, what is non-linear comparison. Now it's time to understand each and everything belongs to this. All right, so are we good to go? Shall we start next?
Yes.
So let's understand first of all what is this comparison. Okay, as you can see here, suppose there is a language A star B star. Okay, A star does mean what? Any number of A, ultimately some number of A, and B star does mean the number of B. So if you check carefully, that is number of A dependent on number of B, yes or no?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Not at all. I can have any number of A, any number of B, and vice versa also. Number of B is also not dependent on number of A. That means number of A is never compared with number of B. So this situation is called as no comparison. It's not only about A star, B star. Any case where two different terminals who are coming, their existence, their appearance does not relates to each other, or it is not dependent on each other. This is where we say that number of A is not being compared with number of B. Now, number of A is not compared with number of B. Are you clear for this?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So is there anybody in the class who is having any kind of doubt in this? You can ask me. Next. In case if number of A is dependent on number of B, then we say that there is a comparison. Now you may be saying, sir, give us some example when it is dependent. So let's have the example. If the language is something like this, A power n, B power n, where n is greater than equals to 0. Now check it carefully. Now number of A and number of B are tied up with each other or not?
Yes, sir.
They are. Number of A has to be same as number of B. Therefore, there must be a comparison between number of A and number of B. So, this is how we detect that whether there is a comparison or not. Got the point?
Yes.
Now,
Yes, sir.
let's move on to the variety of comparisons, because comparison was the first thing and the rest thing was variety of comparisons. Okay, so let's move on to that. So what was the first variety? Linear and non-linear. So linear is what? Where degree of comparison is at most 1. As you can see here, that A power n which is what? This is number of A and number of B. So number of A and number of B are compared directly with each other. Okay. Now what is indirect? No, not indirect actually. What is degree 2? Degree 2 is something like this. A power n square. Abhi A power n is what? Number of A with B power n cube, which is number of B. So what, ultimately what you are compare? Square of A is compared with cube of B. Got the point? Square of A is compared with cube of B. This kind of comparison is called non-linear comparison. Got it?
Yes, sir.
If things are comparing directly, number of A is compared with number of B. That is linear. If things are compared in the power of 2, power of 3, where degree of comparison is more than 1, then it is called to be non-linear comparison. Okay.
Sir,
Now,
sir, in linear comparison, when we have a language, it is मतलब वो दोनों dependent होते directly.
ये भी डिपेंडेंट है.
सर
नॉन लीनियर
मतलब इसमें हम ऐसे
कंपैरिजन अगर है,
इक्वल टू का साइन लगा के कंपैरिजन कर क्यों रहे हैं? मतलब उसका पॉइंट क्या है?
क्योंकि क्वेश्चन में लैंग्वेज दी हुई है और हमें पता करना है कि ये लैंग्वेज जो 7 लैंग्वेज हमने पढ़ी है उसमें से है कौन सी, और वो कंपैरिजन करते हैं मतलब कंपैरिजन के बेसिस पर ही पता चलेगा हमको.
ओके.
क्वेश्चन कैसे आएगा कि आपको एक लैंग्वेज दी जाएगी और पूछा जाएगा कि इन सातों में से ये किस टाइप की लैंग्वेज है, इसको जस्टिफाई कीजिए अलोंग विद द रीजन. तो वो कंपैरिजन करने से ही पता चलेगा कि किस टाइप की लैंग्वेज है.
तो सर मतलब लैंग्वेज में हम इंडिविजुअल ऐसे ले लेंगे उसके जो कैरेक्टर्स और उसको कंपेयर करेंगे ऐसे?
नहीं, इसके लिए थोड़ा सा वेट करो. अभी जब हम एग्जांपल्स डिस्कस करेंगे, अगर टाइम रहेगा तो आज की क्लास में, टाइम नहीं बचेगा तो नेक्स्ट क्लास में व्हेन वी विल डिस्कस एग्जांपल्स, तो इसके रिगार्डिंग आपके जितने सवाल हैं वो अपने आप ही खत्म हो जाएंगे. नहीं होंगे तो फिर पूछ लेना.
ओके सर.
एनीबॉडी एल्स? फाइन. नेक्स्ट, नाउ मूव ऑन टू internal and external comparison. Okay, somebody has unmuted his call. थोड़ा डिस्टरबेंस आ रहा है कहीं से कॉल में. Now what is this internal external? Actually, linear non-linear is a different variety of comparisons, but internal external is not a different variety. It's just two different ways to say the same thing. Two different ways क्या मतलब? For example, suppose this is person A, this is person B. He is 5 feet 6 inches. He's 5 feet 8 inches. Once I say A is shorter than B, or if I say B is taller than A, these are one and the same thing only, na? But these are two different ways to say this. That's the only thing. There is no such different type of internal comparison. There is no such different type of external comparison. There is only one comparison. The different way to write is called internal and external. For example, as I have written here, a power n, b power n. So it is just by looking at directly, I can see that yes, number of a's compared with number of b. So this type of comparison is said to be, this type of way to write the comparison is said to be internal comparison. If you read this, a power n, b power m. So if you read only this much, you will say that number of a is not related to number of b. But last I have written n has to be same as m. So whether we are comparing or not, number of a is compared or not with number of b.
Yes sir.
Everybody is clear for this, right? Here also number of a is
Yes,
compared
sir.
with number of b, but you cannot detect it by watching at this statement is making you to realize that yes, we are comparing. So this type of way to write is called external comparison. Got it? When we say something for comparison, it is true for both. Either it is for internal or it is for external. We don't have any such classification. For linear, non-linear, things are different. Everybody has got the point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Now
sir.
I want to give you people 5 minutes. Okay. I will start from this slide, and on every slide, I will wait roughly for 2 minutes. Okay. I want you people to write these notes with you before we start the questions. Okay. If you don't want to write notes now, then I want you to read the content of each and every slide very, very carefully. Not only to read the content, but also learn this content, because we have to remember this whole stuff while we will start solving questions. For next 3 4 classes we will be solving questions only, nothing else. And make sure that with respect to comparisons, linear, non-linear, internal, external, if you want to ask any kind of doubt, you can ask me now itself, because once I will move to the questions, except those doubts for which I'm myself saying that wait for the questions, except for those doubts. Okay. So ask every doubt in today's class, because from the next class I will expect that you should be clear for these concepts. What is finite, what is infinite, what is linear comparison, what is non-linear comparison, how to write internal comparison, external comparison. You should remember these things and you should not be having any doubt. Then only you will be able to solve the questions. So time starts now. 2 minutes for every slide. Choice is yours. If you want to write it, you can write it. If you want to learn it, you can learn it, but I want it to be completed. Okay. 11:15 it is. 2 minutes starts now for this one. If anybody from you want, for a particular slide, if you want more than 2 minutes, you can say me, sir, please stay on this slide, I'm writing or I'm learning. After 2 minutes I will move to the next slide. If you are still remaining, you should say it to me that sir, stay on this slide. Done with this, moving. 2 minutes over. Moving to the next slide. 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 Two minutes over. Moving to the next slide. इसमें कुछ नहीं है करने के लिए. There's nothing to do this. Fine. So it is all about the content which you should remember. Okay. Last 2 minutes. In fact, let us first take the attendance. Okay. If time will allow us, then we will go further for today's class. If it doesn't allow, you have this whole day. Okay. Learn these concepts properly. Mark my words. If you will not go through with these concepts properly, not in only tomorrow's class, whatever is your next class, next 3 to 4 class, we will be doing questions based on the identification of language. You will face problem in that. Next, related to identification of the languages, we have PDA, push down automata. You will face problem in that. Connected to that, Turing machine is there, because the problems which are in push down automata, that automata cannot move to the left side, to the back side of the string. That problem will be addressed in Turing machine. Again, you will face problems. So now you can understand that how much it is important. Just this one single class is how much important, that all rest of the part of automata is going to be affected by the performance of this class. So if you learn it well, you will get everything in rest of the part of automata. If you don't learn it well, you will not get anything. Okay, make sure to remember this. Now it's time to go for attendance. Let's move on to the attendance. I'm sharing my screen. Everybody please check, is it visible to you or not? And is my screen visible?
No, sir.
Yes, sir,
Now
it
Yes,
it
sir.
is
is.
now.
It is. TO1 students, give your attendance.
07.
Wait, 07,
Zero
So
one.
03.
03,
02. 11.
02,
05.
01.
05,
11.
01,
13.
11, 13. Anybody else? 12.
12 sir.
ये कौन है 12? मंथन. मंथन बेटा क्लासेस नहीं ली थी ना आपने ऑनलाइन स्टार्टिंग में क्या बहुत समय तक नहीं ली है? क्लासेस नहीं
Yes
ली
sir.
थी ना आपने?
हाँ मैं आया था सर.
Anybody else from TO1? और कोई है बिग डेटा से जो प्रेजेंट है? चलिए, done with this. TO1 students can leave the class. Now, TP1 students, the students who are new, मैं एक चीज अनाउंस कर दूं, मैंने सुबह की क्लास में अनाउंस की थी, आज की क्लास से अटेंडेंस को लेके हम थोड़ा सा स्ट्रिक्ट होने वाले हैं, ठीक है? Now from today onwards, I will not take attendance once you have missed your column. इस बात को अच्छे से सब लोग समझ लीजिए, ठीक है? माइक खराब है, लैपटॉप में गड़बड़ है, मोबाइल में गड़बड़ है, या आपका इंटरनेट नहीं चल रहा है, यू हैव टू एड्रेस ऑल दीज इश्यूज। मेरे पास अगर रोल नंबर की आवाज आएगी, आप बोलेंगे, और ये कोई नहीं कह पाएगा कि सर हमने बोला था आपने लगाया नहीं, ड्यू टू टू रीजंस। ये कॉल रिकॉर्ड होता है, सबको पता है, बोला होगा तो आएगा, नहीं होगा तो नहीं आएगा, रिकॉर्डिंग में सब आ जाएगा, ठीक है? और ऑब्वियसली मैं सभी स्टूडेंट्स के लिए सेम ही हूँ, अभी तक किसी से मिला भी नहीं हूँ, तो कोई ना लगाने की वजह ही नहीं है, ठीक है? बी अटेंटिव व्हाइल यू आर मार्किंग अटेंडेंस, ठीक है? कॉलम छूटा, अटेंडेंस छूटी, आज से याद रखेंगे सभी लोग। मैं वापस तो पिछले कॉलम की अटेंडेंस नहीं लाऊंगा। फर्स्ट कॉलम, ऑल दीज स्टूडेंट्स बिलोंग्स टू
24.
फर्स्ट।
Sir, 02, last one.
एनीबडी एल्स? जिसका अटेंडेंस
48.
बजा है
18
अपना मोबाइल, जिसका
18
अटेंडेंस, वेट, चेक करते रहिए स्क्रीन पे। आपको लगता है आपका अटेंडेंस मार्क कर दिया है मैंने, स्विच ऑफ, मतलब आप लीव कर दीजिए फिर सेशन, ठीक है? जिसका अटेंडेंस हो जाए, दे कैन लीव द सेशन। 2 is marked, 24 is marked in first column, 18.
18
Anybody else? Yes, anybody else?
48. 39.
48, 39. Anybody else?
54, sir.
54. Anybody else? Keep leaving the session. First column. Anybody else for the first column? Done. Second.
002
Am I audible?
Sir,
55,
19.
sir.
Wait, wait, wait. Yes, 002, 19, 19.
33
55.
Next, 33,
55.
55,
49, sir.
49. Okay. Anybody else? Anyone else? Fine. Third column.
0,
004 last one 004
03, sir.
62, sir.
10. 56.
62.
Anybody else? Anybody else for this column? Last call. Anybody else for this column? Done. Next column.
4
005. Last 005.
57.
36.
40.
Sir, 21.
36. 36 is present or not?
36.
Okay.
Ah, yes, sir.
Anybody else?
36.
Fine, fine. Anybody else? Anybody else for this column? Fine. Done with this. Next column.
52.
sir
58,
sir sir 46
Anybody else?
13.
58, sir.
Anybody else for this column? 58 I have marked. Check your screens. Anybody else for this column? Fine. Last column.
Six. 47.
Anybody else? Anyone else for the last column? 5 3. 6 5. Fine. I'm taking the last call. Anybody else
Sir,
for this column?
38. Sir, 38.
38. 38. Anybody else? Fine. Done with this. You can leave the session.